Cool, so here we've got a video of one of my dogs and a pack of about 15, I would say, dogs, and we're just re-socializing them. The key here with socialization is there has to be an element of human control and the dog learning how to communicate with other dogs. So there's two parts to the communication that dogs should have. This is a very high level socialization setting, so there's stages prior to doing this that we would go through. Exposure training around the dogs, so downstage, leash conditioning, recall from the dogs when they're in a certain area, recalling them from that area. The next would be on leash socialization, so teaching the dog to interact on a leash with other dogs and keeping the pack very calm and getting the dog calm in that environment. And then the last phase is the direct interaction, so actually letting the dog interact with other dogs, letting it learn what it should do when a dog growls at it, what it should do when a dog postures in a certain way, because it pretty much builds the dog's social IQ so that the dog becomes more socially sound.
Calm the dog down. The dog should come up and sniff her ear. If she avoids, Gemma should lock on. That's it. More pressure. So when she stiffens her body like that, that's her applying spatial pressure. The dog's now de-escalated. The yawn, there's the release of dopamine, the dog's starting to de-escalate, starting to figure it out. And Gemma comes back into me, waiting for the next dog to play up, and we'll repeat the process.
So what you just witnessed was Gemma communicating to Jim that she needs to de-escalate her energy in the pack because it was upset. It was about to upset the pack. And what Gemma's job is to walk around and pretty much hold the other dogs accountable to the state of mind that is expected within the pack. So essentially, when we're training a dog, we're setting up boundaries. We're doing the same thing. This dog is just doing that for me. So she's been picked to do this because of her natural energy and the way she naturally communicates.
So resource guarding is limited right, first right to limited resource. So anything that the dog sees as value can be a limited resource. That could be people, it could be sometimes other dogs, humans, houses, crates, bones, food, toys. So making sure you set the appropriate boundaries for the dog will just make sure the dog doesn't get resource guarding. And that could be something as simple as taking the toys away from the dog and only giving it limited access on your terms, making sure that when it's young especially that you're setting boundaries for it, you get it used to taking it off them, you make sure the dog doesn't become too focused on items or resources. The other one is sometimes dogs become obsessed with their crate, so they'll run into their crate as a safe place, and then they can sometimes display resource guarding out of that. So that's a more advanced one, but there's a lot of things that can be resource guarding, and it's kind of like I guess it's like a virus and it spreads. So if your dog has resource guarding in one aspect of its life, it can sometimes stem into other aspects. So for example, it may start with just food, then it turns into toys, then the human, then its crate, then the house, and it kind of spreads until it takes over, and the dog feels like it's in control of everything. And that's generally where we see a lot of aggression issues. Another big one with resources is dogs that have been taken away from their litter young. So when they're young and they're in their litter, the mum usually sets them boundaries. So if they get taken away young, or the mum, abandons the litter or has aggression issues of its own, it will generally get passed on to the kids, or it will, the puppies, or it will have some negative effect on them. So making sure if you're looking at getting a dog, you meet the parents, you see their temperament, you see how they behave around other dogs, because that may be a very good indication of how your dog's going to behave as it grows up. As dogs kind of mature, they don't really start to show aggression. Sometimes they can show aggression very young, but you may not even see it till about 7 to 10 months. That's when it kind of starts to hit its adolescence and the dog's instincts start to become stronger.